a specific frequency to affect the way we behave. It's true with a specific human frequency.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory, and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessing and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Alright, and what I want to get into today, dealing with, being active, as men of the Lord, being active as men of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, and as we come into this ministry, as we fully begin to understand what we're a part of more and more, all right, we begin to reprioritize our life, okay, and the foundation of everything we do becomes centered around Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and laboring in this ministry, okay, and there's a balance because as we labor in this ministry, we can't neglect, our day-to-day obligations, and we can't neglect our day-to-day, growth, all right, when it comes to being a man in society. We're not here to get rich. We're not here to dedicate our life to chasing the bag or some worldly ambition, okay? It's just a thing of constantly increasing as a man while we're here, and that's increasing in skill, okay, increasing in how we network, how we move, how we're efficient, just being the best version that we can be, according to this truth. You see, we're being molded after Yahweh Shai, okay? So as we're being molded by Yahweh Shai in this truth, this should pour over into the world, and we should become more efficient with this wisdom that we're getting in the world, we should become more efficient in the world with this wisdom that we're getting in the truth, okay? Because it begins to make us look at things from a different angle. See, in the world, we was limited to certain angles, we was in the box, but in this truth, you see, we begin to have perspective that's outside the box, okay, and that we can use, all right, in our day-to-day in the world to free us up more for the truth, to clear our mind and give us a clear space, for the truth, man. And every brother got their own lot, their own portion, their own circumstances. Every brother got their own reality, all right, away from the body. Brothers have different overheads, different obligations, different states, different cost of living. And see, every brother has to adjust according to their situation, okay? So this is a lesson, just giving a general perspective, a general mindset according to the scriptures. Now you go to Proverbs 10:4. It said, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Okay? It said he becometh poor that dealeth with the slack hand. And we have to be active, man. We have to be active, all right, as men. Okay, and first and foremost, we're active in this truth, and we're becoming rich in this truth. We're becoming rich in understanding. But how do you become rich is being active, man. Like you really have to get into this thing. You have to really be in the loop, watching, being a watchman. You have to be active, man. Understanding what's going on around us, what's happening locally, what's happening nationally, what's happening internationally, man. Being up on these things, this being a watchman is a diligent work, man. You know, being in this ministry, this is a diligent work, man. You're going to be physically tired, laboring in the truth, man. All right, but we're becoming spiritually rich. You see, and it's going to pay in the times to come. Okay, now let's go here. When you get the book of Proverbs chapter 12, all right, in verse 11, it says, "He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain person is void of understanding." Okay, and see, right now, that's why the work is likened unto a vineyard. Okay, so we are to till, all right, the land, all right, which is to what, man? Prepare, okay, the land to receive seed, okay, to receive this word in the spirit. That's what that's going into, preparing the listeners, preparing their minds to receive this word. We're tilling the land of the elect, the minds of the hopeful elect. Okay, and that's a daily thing. We're constantly tilling and planting. You break up the land and you plant. When we go into all the things that were displeasing to the Lord, when we go into black culture and Christianity, that's breaking up that land, to plant right seeds in, so it can be cultivated. The mind can be cultivated in righteousness, man. But when we go into feminism and nigger culture and westernization, and we go into these things, let's say Christianity, Egyptology, we go into this thing that's breaking up the ground, that's breaking up that land. Okay, so we can plant right seed. Okay, and even in our day to day, because you go here, when you read Proverbs 12 and 11, it says a hard worker has plenty of food, but a person who chases fantasy has no sense. Okay, because even in our day to day, there's certain seeds that we have to plant. There's nothing wrong with us acquiring skills in this captivity to take care of ourselves, man. Become skillful, all right, within different, worldly arenas. Brothers are skillful. Brothers got careers, and brothers are experts and specialists in particular fields. There's nothing wrong with that, man. But the seed had to be planted, all right, for brothers become, what they are in their day to day, and it makes them more efficient in the truth, because hey, their daily bread is secured all through Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah. Okay, so a hard worker has plenty of food, but a person who chases fantasy has no sense. And see, in the truth and in the world, if you have an idea with no strategy behind it, with no plan or execution, it's just a fantasy. You can have an idea, all right, but if there's no practical, all right, strategy or practical plan to go with that idea, then it's just a fantasy, man. And as men, we're supposed to be strategizing, man. We should be constantly, because our day to day is like running a kingdom. Each brother, they're their own kingdom right now. Okay, before we're joint heirs with Yahushua, we're tasked with running our day to day affairs, man, and running it officially according to this wisdom that we got. And it takes work, it takes labor, man. It ain't about back breaking work and working 60, 70 hours a week. Okay, but it is about strategizing and planning and executing, having goals, having a vision, and executing on that vision. And if the Lord with it, he gonna bless it. If he not, he gonna shut it down, and he gonna show us the way he want us to go. But we have to be in motion. We can't just be in our head, living in the fantasies. Okay, sitting here depressed, because we want this, we want that, we want the kingdom right now, but the kingdom gonna come when it's gonna come. In the meantime, we should be occupied with running our daily affairs with this wisdom. We're being allowed to put this wisdom into practice in this grace period, man. So we can't be caught up with just these in our head and not doing nothing, man. And just hoping and being depressed and angry, just going through all these emotions and letting life happen to us. Nah, man. We gotta be active, man. First and foremost in this ministry, and then in this world. All right, using this wisdom, man. Okay, let's go here. Proverbs 13:4. It says, "The soul of the sluggard desireth and have nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat," man. Okay, the soul of the sluggard desireth and have nothing, man. Okay, because here it is. It's see, when you not occupied, when we really don't have an understanding the work that it takes, to get to certain points. And see, that's also, when you're active, when you have to work for things, when you have to put practical plans in place, that makes you not want as much because you understand the responsibility that come with these things. When you really understand the responsibility that come with these things, it stop you from not wanting as much, man. Okay? Because you understand the responsibility attached to these things, man. But if you're someone that just always in your head fantasizing, you want everything because you don't understand the practical responsibilities that come with these wants. You see, when you really have a grasp, the practical responsibilities that come with having things and, being in certain positions, then you understand, like, nah, I don't want that. You don't start looking at the thing itself. You start looking at the responsibilities that come with it, and you see that's not good for my situation. You can want something and it not be good for our situation. Okay, so it said the soul of the sluggard desire, because the sluggard doesn't understand the responsibilities, all right, the work and the maintenance that comes with particular things. They just want it. They look at people enjoying something and they want it, and they don't understand the responsibilities that come with it. Okay? Nah, man, this being a man, is understanding your limitations as well. You see? When you don't have experience in things, you don't even understand your limitations, man. And it's good to understand your limitations because you can take on something that can be a hindrance to our office in the ministry, man. So reading on, it says, "But the soul of the diligent shall be made fat," man. And like I said, we're not here to get rich. Okay? And see, when we tap into the truth and we really start to work for the world to come, we become rich in this truth, then our desires of the world go down. So now, we don't have, we don't have this desire for worldly things. So we're content with less. Okay, and that creates a mindset of abundance. Okay, and then in the truth, as we give more and be diligent in this truth, our soul is becoming fat. We're becoming enriched in this knowledge and this understanding and the depths of this wisdom and understanding things, man. But it's a labor that goes into that. When you go into Proverbs 14 and 23. Okay, I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It said, "Work brings profit," man. So as we work and toil in this thing, it brings a profit, man. Okay, but mere talk leads to poverty, man. Just talking about ideas, we gotta execute. You want to do a lesson on this, but you just talking about it. No, we gotta execute. You gotta put something in action. You gotta start somewhere, man. And I'm the type of guy that I used to try to have everything mapped out perfectly before I started. And I would be paralyzed and not even start particular things, man. All right. Even to this day, man, sometimes I just have to start. I plan certain things out. I'm just saying we're doing a lesson. Like you can plan it out, you can have it this way, but then the spirit be like, just start. Just start the series, just go. And the spirit will take over, and then that increases our trust in Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. Because when we move in our day to day, you know, of course you plan and strategize. All right. But as we plan and strategize, you know, hey, there's come a point to where, hey, we got to take a leap of faith somewhere. Okay. There's certain points in our life that the Lord require us to take leaps of faith, man. You know, and once we take that faith, man, hey, He take over and favor kick in, man. Just speaking from experience. Okay. So, just talking about things, okay? Nah, man, the Lord wants doers. Okay, the Lord is about His men being in motion, man. And like I said, this ain't about being this super entrepreneur. No, this is just about achieving, all right, in Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. You know, becoming capable men in Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Okay, because it's all rooted, all right, in our office in the ministry. Everything else revolves around it. So the things that we do, even when we get into our health, you know, because you can talk about you want your health this way and you want to, you know, you want to lose weight, you want to do this, but if it's just mere talk, okay, it's just a fantasy. Okay, because we execute on these things, and it's all about building up who we are in this office, man. You know, the way we eat, the way we work out, you know, even the way that we learn, you know, how to be more efficient with earning money, become more skillful doing things ourselves. You know, even becoming more independent and doing things ourselves, man. You see, that frees us up from expenses. That frees us up how to wait on people. You know, and it's all geared towards furthering our office in the ministry, man. So everything is built on us furthering our office in the ministry. Okay. Let's go from there. Let's get this in Proverbs 21. Okay. And 15. 21:5. So like, and this shows you, you know, when you go to Proverbs 21:5, it said the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plentiness, but everyone that is hasty only to want. Okay, so let's read this in the NLT. It said good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, man. So wisdom and hard work is a hell of a combination, man. Wisdom and labor, because now you're working efficiently and consistently. Okay, and then that puts you what in prosperity. See, we're not talking about the prosperity of this world, man, but but constantly getting a more thorough understanding of the scriptures. It creates a peace that can't even be, that this world doesn't offer. Okay, and understanding, being content, understanding what we got coming. Okay, it puts us in a position to where our desires. Okay, because most people in this world, their desires outmatch their income, you know, because they're constantly on social media trying to compete with other people, trying to you know, impress other people. Okay, it's always, you know, because there's always somebody gonna have way more than what you got. Okay, and people are constantly in this competition, so their desires, all right, surpass their income. Okay, and it makes it seem as if they're failing. Okay, but that's one of the cheat codes of the truth. We understand that it's not about, all right, you know, the materialistic things. It's more of an inward thing. All right, and we begin to really appreciate the simple things that the Lord has for us, man, and that's prosperity, man. You know, inner peace with Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. You know, favoring the Lord, showing favor. You know, growing and in this thing and being able to serve and work and till in this thing, and the Lord provide our day to day. You know, that's prosperity, man, because we understand what's to come. All right, see, we don't need much to be in a state of prosperity. You see, these people need this and that and all this extravagant, you know, extraordinary, you know, they need all that to be in prosperity. See, we don't need that, man. You know, but the Lord is requiring us to labor in this thing, in this ministry, man. Okay, being consistent in this thing. All right, it says good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty, man. See, the shortcuts cheat you out of the process. See, the process is building us to be able to handle the blessings that the Lord give us in this world and the world to come. You see, our people, they just make their life about the bag, and they get the bag and blow it because they all about getting these shortcuts to the bag. They haven't built the character to maintain, all right, certain a certain status, a certain situation. Okay, see, going through the process gives us the character to maintain these things that the Lord is giving us, man. Ain't no shortcuts to it. You see, and if we wasting time in our head, you just been in your head for the last, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Well, you 4, 5, 6 years behind, and you see other brothers and the Lord dealing. Well, those brothers are 5, 6, 7 years. They've been moving. They've been active this whole time. Okay, they've been on the move in the ministry and in their day to day. Okay, so when you go from there, let's get this in 22. I got 2 accounts in the New Testament I want to get. This is Proverbs 22 and 29. It says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his business?" Okay, and this truth is our craft. We become diligent in this thing, man. Like Elder Apostle Kai said, we the special forces of this, man. And the special forces training is completely different from the rest of the military, man. So it says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men or ordinary men." Okay? So someone that's diligent in their business, they become the best at what they do. Okay? To the point to where they're being requested by the king now. You see, and we want to become the best at what we do in our lot. All right? So we can be requested by the king in those chariots, man. Okay? So let's go here. I think this is 1 Thessalonians. All right, 4. All right, and 11. All right, I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, "Make it your goal in life." All right, it said, "Make it your goal to live a quiet life, man. Simple, man. Out the way." You see, this ain't no entrepreneur motivation. We're not here for that, man. All right, if you can make moves, hey, make moves, man. And in your day to day, hey, if you, whatever you put your hands to, man, do it. Because because the thing I've learned, that I'm learning, I'm just constantly, like, man, there's just so much to grow, but the Lord allow us a time period to go all out, and do what we gotta do in this world as far as our obligations. But then it's a cutoff. We got to understand it's a cutoff. So when we do what you do, you want to be elite in whatever you do. But then it's a time to cut off and get to the real work. We can't get engulfed and make, all right, the worldly work our life. All right, that's a little side thing. But when we do our little side thing, there's nothing wrong with being elite in that. Okay? And it says, make it your life. It says, make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your own hands, just as we instructed you before. Because, hey, we have to work with our own hands. You see, it's on us to make the time to study and research, to get into these things, to watch, to keep up with what's going on. Okay? Hey, no one can do that for us, man. Okay? Whatever our overhead is, whatever we got, responsibility we got as a man, okay? It's on us to, hey, the Lord give us leeway to go make things happen, man. He's giving us the wisdom to go do things, man. Okay? To make that happen, to work with our own hands. Okay? So it says, reading it again, it said, make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands, just as we instructed you before. Then people who are not believers, it says Christians, but it's talking about the believers of Yahushua. Then people who are not believers will respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend on others, man. You know, and each brother, there's a certain level of self-sufficiency that we can have, you know, that we should have, you know. And then, you know, of course, brothers come up short. This Babylon, you know, it's a big scam. So it's gonna be, you know, times where you're gonna need aid and help, you know, at times. Okay? And it's just a thing of, we want to be as self-sufficient as men as we can be, because a group of self-sufficient men make a strong body, you know. And everybody not going to have what, you know, each brother's going to have their own portion in the world, their own portion in the truth. All right, that it's their responsibility to maintain it, okay, and operate in that and run that with this wisdom. Okay, so that's the point. All right, I just wanted to go into that. Lord will, you know, you brothers, all right, and you sisters are edified. Till next time I say shalom. Going Yasha Allah, Bob, soon, shalom.